make marriage look like heaven on earth.
Just go through life, as I said, be normal. Don't be hypocritical. And once you do that, because whatever your character is, it will show up at the end of the day.
If you respect your husband like that he is in the office of God, your calling is there, his calling too is there. It cannot contradict each other.
If you're not a responsible man and you get into marriage, there is a point where men commit adultery even the most. Marriage is not a cure for sexual sin. Marriage is not a cure for masturbation.
Okay.
If you think after marriage you have the woman all to yourself, so you stop masturbation, it's a lie.
Hi, you are welcome to the PV show Moments of Truth right here on YouTube this and every Sunday.
Please, men, learn to smile in the home. Sometimes a little peck, that one alone, look, she'll fall for you, sir.
The fact that I give money doesn't mean that money is not the only way by which you take care of people. The prayer she might be praying for you could be what is sustaining you to even be getting that money. The listening, she listens to you when you go and then you've gone through the stress of the day. That is what has proven. That's why you have not gone mad. If not, probably she was not listening. The stress of Accra and the various places we stay could have made you gone mental.
Listen to them, comprehend them when they go and do their hair. Don't just pass by. It's as if you haven't seen. I did one, and the eye that look at me.
So you're welcome to another episode of the PV Show's Moments of Truth.
So we start immediately. Thank you all for coming. I pray that the good Lord Himself would grant us understanding. So we have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you so much for this day. We pray that you grant us understanding of these discussions, all that we need to know, all we need to learn to have good marriages as you intended it to be. Lead us, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, good. So we start immediately. What we're looking at is reflections on our marriage. And we all know how important marriage is. My assumption is that for most of us who are here, and those of you who will be joining us later, you've married for at least 1 week. So you've had a taste of marriage, and you have some basic understanding of what we're going to talk about. And I also believe that you also appreciate the fact that marriage is forever, till death do you part. At least that's what you promised when you went to do the marriage vow, to take the marriage vow. That's what you promised, that till death do you part, you're together. So with that understanding, it helps, because then you know that you just have to make it work. If there are options, if you think it is not for life, like most people do, or some people do, what basically happens is that you have other options. You can leave the marriage. If you're not happy, you just walk away. Okay, you don't really care so much about what is happening. You don't need to put in effort. You just do what makes you happy, what pleases you. Okay, so the assumption is that you believe that marriage is forever. That is very critical. It's very important that we have that understanding, that marriage is forever. The other thing that we also need to notice that marriage, for your marriage to work, you need to work on it. It's not automatic. Good things do not just happen. Okay, you have to work on it. And if you are here, then I believe that you know that there's something you can do about your marriage. And it's very true. What happens in life is your inputs determines the output. Okay, so if you can do something about the input, if you're intentional about what you put in, you can actually determine the outcome that you want to a very large extent. If you believe that, then you're also at the right place, that you can cause a change in your marriage. Even if it's doing well, you can improve it. If it's not doing well, you can get things right. And so those are some of the assumptions that I have as a context for our discussions. That you believe that you can do something about your marriage, that marriage is forever, and that you need to work on your marriage to make it work. Now, so with that as the context, what do we look at? Why do we have to do the reflections? And it's important. Actually, it has to be a regular thing that you have to be doing every month or as regularly as possible. But at least at the end of the year, you should have one-on-one meeting with your wife and reflect on the marriage. As you're reflecting in other areas of life, it's important you also reflect on the marriage. If as I said, if you've been married before, you know how important it is. So I said, basically, if you are here, the understanding is that you believe that marriage is forever and that you need to do something about it, because if it's forever, then you have to make it work. Otherwise, you have to endure it for a long haul. And if you don't believe that marriage is forever, then there are so many other options that you can have. You can walk away from your marriage, you can do all of that, and you don't really care. It doesn't really influence how you go about things. The second thing is that you need to work on marriage if you want it to work. That's another thing that I said. And the third thing is that because inputs determines outputs, you can cause changes in the inputs to give you the output you want. And that is the law of intentionality. If you're intentional about the inputs, you can get the outputs that you want. So with that there, I was trying to also share with you the benefits of doing reflections. Okay, not just in life, but particularly not just in the area of business. And because as business people, we know the importance of it. We do that regularly. It's a ritual. Businesses will do that weekly basis, monthly basis, annual basis. And if you're married and you want your marriage to improve, that is one of the things that you have to do. You have to make sure that your marriage is regularly checked to see whether it's on track or not. So what are some of the benefits? Some of the benefits, yes, it's a way of feedback to you as a husband or as a wife, whether what you're doing is right, whether you're on the right path or not. If you don't know, or you're not giving feedback, you continue to think the way you're thinking, that maybe things are working. But maybe your wife is not happy, your husband is not happy, but he's not getting the opportunity to let you know about it, or the environment is not being created for him or her to share how he actually feels about it. So it's important that you have this kind of reflections. There are ways. We all have a view of ourselves or how we think things are. Until you hear from another person, a third person, you may not be able to have the truth. You may not be able to hear the truth. So reflections, if you allow your wife or your husband to speak to you about how he feels about the marriage, you'll be able to get the real truth. Okay. Otherwise, in your mind, you may think that things are working, but in actual sense, it may not be as you think it is. The other benefit is once you allow the discussions to happen, it makes your spouse feel valued. At least you call your wife or you call your husband and you say, I want to hear from you. I want us to discuss how things are going. Especially if the man initiates that, it creates that psychological benefit for the woman. That yes, she's important. Her concerns are valued, and she's important in the marriage. That's the whole thing. That I can share my concerns. That my husband is concerned about how the marriage is important to him, and he wants it to work. So, making reflections, when you have the reflections, it brings that advantage also to the marriage or to the partners in the marriage. Now, what are some of the guidelines? How are you expected to go about it? Okay, so the idea is we as I said earlier, we want to be intentional. We want to be intentional about the input so that we can get the output that we want. So we first have to know our outputs, what we want, and then check what we need to do as inputs to get the outputs that we plan for. So before you begin your reflections, you need to put whatever you agreed on, even if it's not written, what you have in mind. You can share that one with your spouse. I don't know how you call your spouse. You can say Annie or baby or D or whatever you call your husband or your wife. These are my expectations. So when you state those expectations, when I was entering the marriage, these are the expectations that I had. You can note those ones down. But if you've been married for some time, then I expect that you would have something that you've planned, all of you have planned to achieve, okay, in various areas. We'll look at it. Let's assume that there is no plan. You don't have anything in place, okay, for the benefits of our discussions. Let's assume that you don't have any plan. But by all means, you have some expectations in your mind. There are some areas that you need to look at as a family. Some critical areas you need to look at. And first is your relationship with your spouse, the relationship you have with your husband or with your wife. That relationship needs to be looked at. It is as important as any other thing. The relationship, one-on-one relationship. Then you look at the financial or the economic well-being of the family. How are things going? You look at your spiritual well-being. You look at the physical well-being of the family, and some other things that would look at your responsibilities and other things that would look at. So first of all, the relationship, husband, wife, is the two of you who agreed to live together, and you're living together for life. Once you have your husband and the wife, you have responsibility towards the person. Okay, so the person or your spouse is your chief customer. Okay, so like you would, if you're a businessman, the way you would talk, you would get feedback from your customers about how they feel, okay, their feelings about the whole marriage or about you in particular, as a husband or as a wife. That is very important. How does your husband or wife, as your spouse, how does a person feel? His feeling from his or her perspective, not yours, not what you think that the person should feel. It is what the person feels. Okay, and make sure that these discussions are being held in an environment that is free of any intimidation. If you cannot allow the person to speak freely, then don't hold the meeting. If you're going to hold the meeting, make sure that the person is free to speak his or her mind. Your partner, your spouse is able to speak his or her mind freely. There shouldn't be any constraint. You're not supposed to be offering explanations about why he or she feels the way he or she feels. So allow the person to talk and let the person say it the way he or she deems fit. Okay, so that environment must be created, and you're supposed to listen when the other partner is speaking. Okay, so let the person tell you how he or she feels about the marriage. Is it going well for her? Is it going well for him? Has things improved since he got married, or things deteriorated? Which aspects are working, which aspects are not working, as far as his expectations are concerned. So once you check that, I mean, if you do not intimidate your partner and he or she is able to speak freely, you get the truth. They will tell you if it's working or it's not working. So that is very critical and very important. You're supposed to reflect on your responsibilities. You see, however the marriage is, whether it's going well or not, is the two of you are accountable. So you have to be frank to yourselves. Okay, as a husband, are you performing your role as a provider of the home? Have you set a vision for the family? Does the family is there a vision for the family? If somebody should ask your wife, what are the key things you plan to do? Will she be able to tell the person? Or you just live a day at a time? Okay, so we'll look at some of those things. So if there is no vision, there's no family vision, there's no clear target, there's no plan for the family, please, it's important that you have a plan coming into 2023 or going into 2023. We are not there yet. I'm seeing myself ahead, but I'm already in. Yes, by God's grace, I will be there. So I'm seeing myself there already. So if there's no vision and there's no plan for the family, please set up one and use the opportunity when you're discussing to set up one. So if there's no family vision, the man, you are responsible because you are the head of the home. You are supposed to drive that. Establish a vision for the family. And how well are you playing your role as a father to the children? If there are children, how are you handling them? Are they having you as a father? Are you playing your role? So you're a provider, you're supposed to provide for the home, you're supposed to provide leadership in the home. You're also supposed to be a father that your children can lean on, providing the security around your children and family. Now, so that is that for the man. And as a woman, you are a wife, you are a mother, and you're a homemaker. So your role as a wife, his role as a husband, your role as a wife, your role as a mother, a wife to your husband, a mother to your children, and a homemaker, the chief administrator of the home. How well are you managing that? How well are you managing that? Both of you need to give each other the feedback. So areas to look at, let's go into details. The first thing is your economic well-being. We all know the situation in Ghana at the moment. If you don't do anything about it, you're not doing well. So you should check your salaries, your income. If you're working, whatever you're doing to earn income, check those things. How much is coming in and how much are you spending? It's a very basic calculation you can do. How much is coming in? How much are you spending? on your children's education, on feeding, on rent, loan payment, or whatever it is. Put all together versus what you're receiving. Will it be able to sustain you through 2023? If not, you need to plan to either reduce your cost or get more money, increase your income. It's basic. It's as basic as that. So if you have to change jobs, if there are opportunities for that, to increase your income, fine. If you have to negotiate with your employers, that is also okay. If you can do some side business, please do that and increase the family income. And the man, you're supposed to take that leadership. Sit with your wife and have a plan for the economic well-being of your home. At least there should be food at home all the time. There should be clothing for the family, basic expenses, whatever we consider as basic expenses should be there. Their school fees, January is coming, school fees, you need to plan for it. So put all those things together and make sure that those basic things are being taken care of. If there is those basic things are not taken care of, trust me, no matter how lovely you are, no matter you can buy a bucket load of flowers, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't mean anything. If you've taken loans, you need to look at it. Do you need to restructure it? If it's taking, the deductions are too much for you, is there a way you can go back to your bankers and renegotiate it? Okay, so those are some of the other ways to do that. So how much do you expect? What do you need to do to get there? Be intentional about it, and you can take care of the expenses. The second one is your spiritual well-being as a family. I mean, life is more spiritual than physical. It's important that as leaders of the home, that is the husband and wife, you take responsibility to provide security, not only economic security, but also spiritual security. Okay, that you're praying with your children, you're guiding them in the way of the Lord, building their moral lives, and teaching them about the evils in the world, taking them to church, exposing them to the spiritual truths, basically. If you're not doing that, you're not intentional about that, you're not helping the family. You're supposed to pray regularly for the children. I go to their rooms, or my wife goes there, and then we pray with them before they sleep. And if they sleep before we get there, I go there, I kneel, and I pray over them before I go to sleep. And my wife goes to do that. And this is something that we do regularly. It's important. Otherwise, for those of you who are Christians and believe in spiritual things, you know the implications of leaving your family open like that. If you're a woman and your husband is not doing that, take it as a responsibility and pray for your children. If you're a man, you're not doing that, you're the priest of the home, you're the priest in the house, you are the pastor of the house. Do that. Preserve the spiritual well-being of your family. Your relationship, then the third one is the relationship with your partner. We spoke about it earlier. The performance of your basic responsibility towards each other, I mentioned that. The peaceful coexistence, okay, as you give feedback to each other, you look at that. The sexual life, how are you enjoying yourselves? Are you denying each other, or are you not doing it? Are you not performing it properly and well? And so it is not appealing to the partner. You can make a change if you're willing to. You can always do that. How much freedom is at home? How much freedom is at home? What is the mental health of your wife or your spouse? Is how you're treating him or her creating mental issues? Is she always disturbed? Is she always quiet? Is she always suicidal? It's very important that you take that into consideration. Okay, you're sensitive to the feelings of your spouse. So those are the areas to look at. I spoke about a couple of things. That's the economic well-being, your family vision and plans, your spiritual well-being, your relationship with your partner, and the health, all those other things you need to look at. Finally, the legacy you want, both of you want to leave behind. Somebody said, if you just take care of yourself, you're not living. Okay, if it's just about you and just your family, you're living a limited life. Okay, you're supposed to be a blessing first to yourself, to your family, and then to the world at large. Okay, you are in life not to live for yourself, but to live for others. So think about what legacy you also want to leave. How can you extend help to other people outside the family? Your parents, you have a responsibility towards them, and that you should add. Also, how are you taking care of your in-laws? Your spouse's parents and you, and yours. Include that in your planning. Beyond that, in your community, in your church, how can you help? Can you sort out other people? Okay, if you've not sorted out yourself, then think about yourself first. Think about your family first, and then once by God's grace things are right, then you sort out other people. If you don't have what to eat, you don't carry the family's income and other things to pay other people's school fees. That is not love. That is not wisdom. So you take care of the family and then you extend it. So you just need to work more, have other people at the back of your mind and support. So these are the areas that you need to look at and plan for 2023. So you reflect and plan for 2023 with the understanding that you are responsible, you are accountable for any outcome or the outcomes that you have in the family, and that you have the opportunity to change outcomes by changing the inputs.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the PV Show's Moments of Truth. If you are joining us for the first time, kindly remember to click on the subscription button to subscribe to this show. Thank you and stay safe. We'll be back same time next week. We'll be having another wonderful session with him, and I won't give you the clue, but stay tuned and enjoy the next program. Have a wonderful day.